Den of Thieves 2 Pantera. Why is it called Pantera, and what does Pantera even mean? And is this movie even worth watching, even though it has such a cool name like Pantera? Let's find out. Den of Thieves 2 Pantera is the sequel to the 2018 Den of Thieves original that brings back Gerard Butler and O'Shea Jackson Jr. and is again written and directed by Christian Gudast. I think that's right. Butler returns as Big Nick O'Brien, or I guess just Nick in this one. He's straight out of the courthouse and into a divorce, obsessed with catching Donnie Wilson after the heist at the Federal Reserve Bank in the first film, where the bank is convinced that there was nothing stolen and wants to close the case. Nick's family life, personal life, and everything else in his life seems to be ruined by his obsession to catch Donnie. But regardless, he's off to Europe to find him. The film actually starts in Belgium, where we see a plane being robbed for a specific pink diamond to be sold later by Donnie in an attempt to break into the World Diamond Center in Nice, France. While Donnie is casing the Diamond Center, where he rents an office in the Diamond Center building posing as a diamond merchant, he finds out that the diamond he actually stole is property of a mob boss, and he wants that property back. Donnie has to find a way to steal the diamond that he stole back and get the loot from the Diamond Center too, which I believe is in the same place. I don't think that really raised the stakes any higher there. While this is going on, Nick finds Donnie and convinces him to let him join his crew. He says that he's tired of tracking people and being poor and wants to come to the other side. Donnie introduces Nick to the team he's working with, who is the Siberian Mafia called Pantera, or Panther Jewel Thieves, and that is where the title comes in. Pantera meaning panther. The heist is actually inspired by two different jewel heists. The Pink Panther International Jewel Thieves, which were real, and yes, that's where the Pink Panther movie comes from.
We must find that woman.
And the Antwerp, Belgium diamond heist in 2003, where they take a lot of their heist ideas from, which makes me wonder why they didn't just make a movie about that diamond heist, which is considered the largest diamond heist ever and one of the biggest robberies in history. Which, by the way, why didn't this movie stay in Belgium, where the World Diamond Center actually is? There isn't a World Diamond Center in Nice, is there? Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. If I'm wrong about this, I could be. I mean, the film started in Belgium. Why would they? I don't know. Unless I missed something. The same way that Den of Thieves feels like a remake or a copy of the film Heat, Den of Thieves 2 feels like a combination of movies like Ronin starring Robert De Niro, a little bit of Point Break, maybe a little of the Muppets, The Great Muppet Caper.
Oh, I never ordered no pepperoni.
It's right here on the slip. Medium pepperoni with double cheese.
That's right. We don't make them, we just deliver them.
I'm just kidding. But this movie does feel like a hodgepodge of different movies. It was Hobbs and Shaw or The Fast and the Furious with one car scene. Den of Thieves 1, I actually kind of enjoyed for what it was. I just saw it recently. It was intense and some crazy action scenes were in it, and it, was fun, I guess. The movie goes completely bonkers in the third act. It wasn't as good as a movie like Heat, but it was enjoyable for what it was. This movie was pretty slow for my taste, considering the original. I kept checking my watch so I could write down the time when the action started. 30 minutes go by, nothing. An hour goes by, an hour and a half goes by, not much going on. It wasn't until around an hour and 45 minutes that something actually happens, which is the actual heist. The movie was so boring and so slow, and I actually heard someone actually snoring in the theater. That's never a good sign. There's a lot that could have been cut from this movie too that was just so unnecessary. Like a scene where the jewel thieves are arguing at their hideout about each other's music choices. It's supposed to be a light-hearted comedy scene, but it's just unnecessary and not very funny, and it's a weird match for this type of movie. It's funny because I was kind of excited to see this movie. I was coming from another movie in the theater right next door, and the movie I'd just seen was a little darker and a little bit more real and kind of sad. So I was ready for this action-packed popcorn flick, which I like from time to time. Just something sort of mindless to lose myself in, and this was not it. I mean, it was mindless, let's get that right, but it was awful. The thought that was put into the writing was pretty absent. The whole relationship between Nick and Donnie was just way too easy. Donnie pretty much trusts Nick right away, and the movie becomes this buddy movie all of a sudden. Nick in the first movie is this over-the-top, gritty, angry cop, and in the sequel, he's almost comical. Watching him eat a half-gallon bowl of gelato was weird. Watching them bond over shawarmas, talking about how the fact that both of their fathers were shot and that led them to their careers and life paths, was pretty basic writing. I didn't really care about these characters, and I don't care if they get caught or not. There was some really dumb scenes in this movie, like one where the police are looking for the intruder who is actually Nick in a stairwell. The cops are going up the stairs to the roof, and when they are about to reach where Nick is, Nick literally just ducks in a corner, and the cop who isn't even running doesn't even see him. Like, the cop is actually looking for this guy around every corner except this corner. And when he gets to the roof, he doesn't even really look around. He opens the door and calls back all clear. Nick could have just stayed on the roof the whole time. And there's another scene where Nick and Donnie are being chased by the mom in a tunnel. When they enter the tunnel, it is clearly nighttime, like insanely dark outside. But when they come out of the tunnel, it looks like it's 7 a.m. and the sun is bright in the sky. I mean, how long is this tunnel? Oh, and this one scene where they're driving into the security gate of the garage of the Diamond Center, and Donnie puts on this really stupid-looking fake mask of the Diamond Center director. I guess that's who he was. And something scans his face and then lets him in. And the guard doesn't even notice because he's watching a soccer game. I mean, that mask was so bad that it wouldn't have even opened the lock screen on his iPhone if he tried. It was so lazy and ridiculous. This is the Diamond Center, and he gets in based off of a plastic mask? Oh, and there's a plot twist like the first movie that is pretty obvious, and the way they execute it is just ridiculous. But it doesn't stop there, because they flip that plot twist and give you another one that apparently Gerard Butler made up on the fly on set because he didn't like the original plot twist. And the second plot twist just kills the original plot twist. Like, there was no point at all for the first plot twist. I can't go into it without ruining the movie for you, so I'll let the movie do that for you. This movie has to be coming soon to the How Did This Get Made podcast. I mean, I can hear the podcast already in my head. And if you've never heard this podcast, starring Paul Scheer, June Diane Raphael, and Jason Mantzoukas, you should really check it out if you love movies, because it is absolutely insane and hilarious. It's an award-winning comedy podcast that celebrates really, really, really bad movies, and it is bonkers. It is insane, and you will love it. The acting in this movie is okay for what it is. The dialogue wasn't great. It tries to be funny here and there, but the jokes are pretty old and kind of cliche. There's a croissant joke that's sort of funny once, but it comes up like 3 or 4 times, killing the humor that it sort of had to begin with. And again, the acting was fine. It's what you would expect from an action movie with no action. It's not a movie I'd see unless I saw the first one, so take that how you will. There's a lot that you'd probably not understand if you hadn't seen the first movie, like why Nick calls Donnie Fraulein all the time, or why the Fed wasn't missing any money after the heist. I don't think that you'd get a good feel for what the movie is or what's really going on without the first film. I mean, maybe. I think you're not going to like it either way. The only thing that I thought looked nice was the cinematography, and not really in the scenes with people in them, but the drone shots of Nice were really nice. They were really beautiful, but the cinematography of the action and all the exposition wasn't really impressive to me. It was pretty standard, nothing really crazy. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't nuts. It wasn't crazy what I would expect from an action film. Den of Thieves 2 Pantera is a forgettable film that is way too slow and doesn't get into any real action until late into the third act. The relationship between Donnie and Nick isn't believable or realistic at all, and the writing is just lazy. The jokes aren't funny, and for a movie that took 6 years to get a sequel is just a huge mess of a movie. I'm giving Den of Thieves 2 1 star out of 5. It's not the worst heist movie, but I just wanted it to be over about an hour in. I felt like it was written by the now out-of-work writers of the Sony Marvel universe. So, am I wrong about Den of Thieves 2 Pantera? Maybe. Maybe I just didn't get it like some of you did. If you enjoyed this movie, let me know why in the comments. I'd love to talk to you about this movie. Maybe it'll help me enjoy it more than I did. Thank you for subscribing and liking. You are the only reason this channel exists, so thank you again. And like always, don't wait till it streams. Let's go to the theater and let's see it together. Even this one, bring a friend, like I did. It'll make it more fun.
What's the name on that slip?
What's your name?
Henderson.
That's it. That's the name on the slip. Ah!
Oh. But I hate pepperoni.